Yo, so today I'm going to be doing my review on Breakfast at Tiffany's by Truman Capote. This was first published in 1958 and it's actually set in the early 40s. It's about an anonymous writer and the friendship that he struck up with his neighbour Holly Golightly, who's a New York it girl who lived in the apartment below him. From the get-go we discover that Holly isn't your average 19-year-old. She has an aura of mystery around her. She deflects any personal questions about herself and her past, so the writer has his work cut out for him. The story is focused on Holly and the people who she came into contact with, and even though the writer is anonymous, we get a good sense of him and his character. He has a warm voice and he obviously cares very deeply for Holly and he just wants what's best for her. He looks back at his friendship with her and he really appreciates it, and I think it goes to show that you can have a connection with someone, and no matter how brief, and still leave a lasting impression years later on. Holly's character is fascinating, but I found her quite irritating most of the time. She's a young woman who's trying to outrun her past and create a better future for herself, but in doing so she's creating a new version of herself, an upgrade if you will. You can come to your own conclusion as to why she's doing this, but I think it's fairly obvious and it's quite understandable as well. Truman Capote's writing style is exactly what I had anticipated it to be. Now, I'm someone who read In Cold Blood and I really didn't gel with that book whatsoever, but luckily I really enjoyed this. He writes with a certain flair and he doesn't shy away from being outrageous. For example, at a certain point Holly states that she wants a lesbian roommate because they're so neat and tidy. Basically she wants someone to clean up after her. But after a while she starts using the word dyke. And I think we have to think about this in the term of the context of the character. Holly is someone who likes to shock people and she likes to get a rise out of them, and that's what she's trying to do to the writer in this moment. She's also very young and naive and has her own notions, so stereotyping lesbians this way wouldn't be out of the ordinary for someone like her. But then you also have to remember that Truman Capote is a gay man who's writing this character, so there's no maliciousness here. Context, time and place all matter, and I think it's important to remember that before diving into this or diving into any older novel and then making assumptions about the writing. I'm only saying this because in researching the quote specifically that I wanted to pull for this, which I couldn't find online, I discovered a messaging board where people were complaining that Truman Capote was homophobic when he is a gay man. The story was far more engrossing than I had expected it to be, and just learning that Holly Golightly's character is actually 19 and not the 30-year-old that Audrey Hepburn was when she depicted her in the film adaptation made a lot more sense. I have a much deeper perspective on Holly's character now, and knowing that she's 19 makes her worldview and how she navigates it much more understandable. You know, youth harbours no fear, and she's young and naive and lacks clear foresight, and she likes to live in the moment. She has this attitude that somehow things will always work out for her, and it can be quite scary, some of the situations she gets herself into. But overall I did really enjoy this novella, and it's much better than the film in my opinion, and I think if you go into this expecting the film you're going to come out of it really disappointed. I believe there's only about 2 scenes or so in this that actually overlap with the film. Aside from that, it's a very different story and it's not really a romance, it's more of a story on friendship. But certainly check it out if you're interested in learning more about the character of Holly Golightly. If you're someone who just loves the film, then yeah, maybe give it a pass, but it is always worthwhile reading the book. So that has been my review on Breakfast at Tiffany's. Let me know if you've read it or if you're interested in reading it, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll talk to you soon. Goodbye.